Hello everybody, the Nameless Narcissist here once again, a simple man diagnosed with NPD, giving you the facts on narcissistic personality disorder and things that go on in my head. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, but keep in mind that I'm no clinician, I can only speak to my own experiences. So, we got some heavy topics today. Self-harm, self-harm and NPD. I want to point out that although there is components of self-harm that are associated with NPD, it's not nearly as common as it is with borderline personality disorder. And it's not an outlier, there's still like a correlation there. Just this isn't going to be super common when it comes to people with NPD. But that's why I'm going to kind of expand this from a side to just like physically harming oneself to the idea of just being self-destructive in general. Because I think the self-destruction in NPD almost universally comes down to the same thing. For me, there's two big ones, and I'll get to both of those, but one of them, the second one I'm going to talk about, is going to be a lot more rare, a lot more malignant, so to speak. Usually, whenever I self-harmed, there was always this thought. It was never, there was a self-punishing aspect to it, sure, right? It's like, oh my God, you're so stupid, like, this will fucking show you. Very, like, visceral kind of self-hate talk. A lot of self-punishment in that regard, or like, and that would also present in like, if I were like hitting myself or something like that, like I fucking hate myself. Especially if I'm having like a meltdown, that very much comes from self-punishment. But more so, the more like, especially when there's a little bit more of a methodical and the less impulsive self-harm is way more about control. What I would always say to myself when I was self-harming back in the day was, nobody else is going to be able to hurt me other than me. Because, like, it feels humiliating that somebody, like, I felt like I had to hurt myself more because of how humiliating it was that somebody else could affect me the way that they were. And I just wanted to, like, have some degree of control. And this also applies to like some other self-destructive behaviors, such as like, I don't know, getting back with an ex who's really bad with me or something, I don't know. Or just like burning a bridge and shit like that. It's like this defiant, like self-elevation. It's like, yes, I have control of this situation. I can do what I want. Like this, it's like an ultimate defiance. It's like, I can destroy myself and you can't stop me. Just fucking come and try. If I want help, only I can help me. You cannot help me, only I can. For me, there also was a more, again, I would say malignant motivation for me sometimes, which was the using it as a way to punish other people. Again, I don't think this is super common for narcissists, if I'm being honest. I think this is more of a me being screwed up thing. Like, the mindset was like, they hurt me, I'm going to show them what they did, and now they have to bear that. Now they have to understand and bear that. It was very sadistic in a way. I go back and forth on whether I felt like I wanted them to prove that they cared or not. I'm not sure, because like back then my insight was so poor that I'm not sure if I wanted them to call me or if I wanted them to be like horrified with themselves. Does that make sense? And this self-destruction, even to its most logical conclusion, which is suicide, has the same kind of mindsets behind it. It was like my ultimate defiance. It's like, this world let me down, so I'm going to show it what it did. I'm going to show how I'm going to deprive it of the best thing that ever happened, me. And that was my last thoughts as I was dying. It's like, this is my last, like, this is my ultimate show of strength. Like, the hardest thing that somebody can do is go against their, and don't listen to this, this is my crazy talk, but in my head, it was like the most, and this may have been inspired off a Dostoevsky book, I'm not gonna lie, but the biggest show of power, the biggest show of force, the biggest show of my own free will and my own self-direction is the fact that I could overcome the most basic human instinct, which is survival, and unalive myself. That was like that's always been the most extreme show of strength to me. And it was humiliating to me, and it still is to some degree, that I can't do it. That I can't overcome those primal desires, primal desire to live and survive, and that primal desire to fear death. that I can't look at death in the face and just say, I don't care, was humiliating. But yeah, and even now that kind of haunts me a little bit, but I know how pathological and messed up that philosophy is, so I try not to think about it too much. But yeah, like when I did my attempt, it wasn't like, and don't get me wrong, I was in incredible pain when it happened, but the intent wasn't just through like, oh, I just want the pain to end. No, the way that the pain ended was through establishing the control, about like defiantly asserting myself. That's how the pain was going to end. It wasn't because I was dead. If I died, like in my mind, if I just die and I wasn't exerting myself, then the pain doesn't end. There wouldn't have been any. There's no relief. There was no relief in dying in itself. It was the act of myself making myself die that was empowering. That was relieving. Like people, like I would like read on when I was like very suicidal. I would read on like these forums of people saying like, does anybody else like the idea of getting accidentally being hit by a bus and dying, so that like you don't have to do it, and your family members won't think that you did it, and you won't make them feel bad, but it just like happens. And I couldn't relate at all. I was like, no, I want to do it. Why would I just like? What relief would there be from it just happening? I'm still ineffectual. I'm still pathetic. I'm still insignificant if it just happens. Man, this video is going to get demonetized so fast. It was always really interesting, and it was always super interesting to me when people would be like, oh, I want to unalive myself, but like I'm afraid of causing my family grief and hurt and stuff like that. And I'm like, really? Isn't that part of the point? Which sounds terrible. It really does, and it is terrible. And I remember I thought this was really normal up until I had a friend who I was talking about suicidality with, and like he mentioned during it, he was like, it's not like bad. You're not a bad person because like you're suicidal. And he's like, unless you're like fantasizing about and like happy that people are going to be sad at the funeral, and that's pretty messed up. And I was like, ooh, guess I won't mention that ever again, except for now to the entire world, I guess. Yeah, it was just kind of like, and it's not even like, it's like it was my own life. Why should I care that other people are sad that I'm dead? Like, this is my choice. This is my life. I get to decide how it ends. I get to assert myself as in control. I get to assert myself as powerful. It just seemed really logical to me. It still seems really logical to me. I don't know. By the way, I'm not suicidal. I feel like I should probably mention that towards the end of this video. But that's the majority of what I have to say on that. Hope you all found this interesting or helpful, and take your fucking beds, please.